Okay, here we go. So I got 4 different tiers: World Series contenders, playoff team, on the fence, and get ready for golf. I'm going to go through each of these teams and give you my thoughts on where each one belongs. Let's start with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I've been waiting for them to break out over the last couple of years, and they're finally doing it this year. Only percentage points behind the Dodgers in the NL West as of right now, with a record of 52 and 39. This has been a really solid team across the board. If we take a look at the offense, 9th overall, Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Christian Walker. These guys have been great for them in that lineup, but Corbin Carroll definitely leading the way. The starting pitching, led by Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, has been solid, 11th overall. I mean, this team was so much better after they got rid of Madison Bumgarner. So Diamondbacks pitching atop the rotation has been good. I think they could use a little something in the back end, or more of like, even if it's just like a middle of the rotation guy. As for the bullpen, if we take a look, 15th overall, it's been fine. I think they could use a little something else. I mean, you got a couple of guys here at the back that have been doing well. McGough, you've had Chafin perform really well. Castro's been decent this year. I feel like they could use another guy. And again, one more guy for the rotation I think would be really helpful come playoff time. Kelly will be back. He's on the IL as of right now, but I think one more guy for the playoffs will do a lot of good for this team. For right now, until I see those kind of moves at the deadline, I think just right now, they are a playoff team. On to the Atlanta Braves, and you know what? I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to put them in the World Series contender tier because this team is flat out so freaking good. The Atlanta Braves right now with a record of 60 and 29, 8.5 out in front of the Marlins in the NL East. I mean, what else is there to say about this Braves team? They have been fantastic this year. Actually, 2nd overall in offense on the year, but first since May 1st, so keep that in mind. This Braves offense is just absolutely nuts, so deep. Ronald Acuna Jr. having a historic season, could end up finishing with just historic numbers this year. Ozzie Albies has been really good. Sean Murphy, Matt Olson have been good. Marcelo Zuna has been stepping up this year. Eddie Rosario. I mean, come on, this lineup is just so deep. But the starting pitching is an area that I would like the Braves to address a little bit. Now, 13th overall on the year, a 3.77 ERA, a 4.16 FIP. That's not too bad. But remember, they have Max Fried as well as Kyle Wright on the IL. They are making their way back, but I would like for the Braves to add some depth to that rotation. I think that would go a long way. And the bullpen has been flat out so good this year. 2nd overall in the year with a 3.43 ERA, 3.56 FIP, just under 10 strikeouts per 9. Raisel Iglesias has been fantastic for them at the back end. You got AJ Minter as well. I mean, come on. Like, this team is so good all the way around. Easy World Series contender for me. Let's talk the Baltimore Orioles. They're playing great baseball lately. They've won 5 straight games heading into the All-Star break, and they're only 2 games behind the scuffling Rays. My goodness, remember the Rays? They were way out in front in that AL East. Now the Orioles are just right behind them. Can we see the Orioles catch them? We'll have to wait and see. But I really like this Orioles team this year. Really solid offense, 6 overall. They've been having a lot of bats step up for them this year. Adley Rutschman, he's been fantastic for them. Guys like Austin Hayes and Cedric Mullins have really stepped up this year. Santander bringing the power. I mean, come on. Like, this offense is really solid. One area, like the Braves, I would like for them to address is the starting pitching. More so than the Braves, though. 24th overall in starting pitching with a 4.48 ERA and the FIP right around the same at a 4.49. I definitely think they need to go out at the deadline and acquire someone like a Lucas Giolito. I think could make a lot of sense for them. Someone for the playoffs that you could really turn to. And the bullpen has been fantastic. Best bullpen in all of Major League Baseball this year. 1st overall, over 10 strikeouts per 9 from that bullpen with Felix Bautista and Cano at the back end, a 3.68 ERA. FIP a little lower at a 3.56. But for the Orioles, I am going to go playoff team as of right now because I need to see what they do about that starting pitching at the deadline. Let's talk my Red Sox. Just like the Orioles, they also won 5 straight games going into the All-Star break, and now they find themselves only 2 games back of the 3rd wild card spot. This has been a weird team this year. When they're hot, they're just so good, and when they're cold, they're just so bad. So I'm still not sure what to think of this Red Sox team, but when you look at the numbers, pretty solid. They're 10th overall when it comes to the offense. Now the starting pitching is going to be lower at 20th overall, but they have been getting really good starting pitching from Brian Bayo and James Paxton as of late. They have had some injuries in that rotation, so they're running a little thin. Guys like Whitlock and Tanner Houck, they're out as of right now. So the Red Sox, if they are going to be serious about competing, they're going to have to add some starting pitching, in my opinion. The bullpen has been solid for the most part. 13th overall. Kenley Jansen has been a very nice addition for them this year. Their lone all-star this year, a 3.90 ERA in that bullpen. Could they use another arm in there? Yeah, sure, why not? But for the Red Sox right now, because they've just been so up and down, I'm still not sure what to think of them. I am going to be on the fence as of right now. I mean, if they can keep playing this way, man, they could be a real threat down the stretch, but I need to see the consistency from them. On to the Chicago Cubs. Remember, they got off to a really good start this year, but they have faded as of late. 42-47, 7 games back in the division. That's not impossible to come back from, but I don't know about this Cubs team. They're just too mid for me. Like, I love some of these guys that they have on the team, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get there. If we take a look at the offense overall, only 18th on the year. The starting pitching has been pretty good with Stroman and Steele at the top of the rotation, 8th overall in Fangraph WAR. The bullpen overall, it's middle of the pack, 16th in Fangraph WAR, but I don't know about this Cubs team. You got Stroman and Bellinger that could bring back some value at the trade deadline. I think personally you could go on the fence because it is a talented team and they could go on a run. But you know what? I'm going to get ahead of myself. Maybe that's not the best idea, but I'm going to just put them in get ready for golf. I don't think they're going to be there this year. I think they will fade. Who knows? That could end up being a really bad call. Maybe they could get hot, but I'll go with get ready for golf for the Cubs. Let's talk the Chicago White Sox. What a nightmare of a season that it's been for the Chicago White Sox. And they still only find themselves 8 games back in the division, but this division just completely stinks. This White Sox team, I had high hopes for coming into the season because there's a lot of good talent here, but they have just completely fallen off the rails here in 2023. The offense is just awful. 25th overall. Starting pitching has been better. 17th overall. You got a couple of guys there, but these guys are going to be trade pieces. Lucas Giolito, Lance Lynn, maybe even Michael Kopech. We'll have to wait and see. But as to the bullpen for the White Sox, and not really too much here either. 27th overall. I mean, these are just such bad numbers. I'm just stunned with this White Sox team. Obviously, get ready for golf, but they will be active at the trade deadline. They'll be interesting sellers to pay attention to. On to the Cincinnati freaking Reds. My goodness, they've been a fun team as of late. Taking a look here, 50-41 on the year, leading the NL Central, a game in front of the Milwaukee Brewers. Who saw this coming? I definitely didn't see it coming. I don't know if many other people saw this coming either, but man, this team has been fun lately. The offense overall, as of late especially, has been fantastic. If we take a look at the leaderboards, 14th overall in offense, but they were in the bottom 10 at one point. So this offense has completely come alive since Elly De La Cruz has come up. Joey Votto's come back and he's been doing well. Spencer Steer has been a really solid player this year for them. Jonathan India has been solid. Really like this lineup, especially with a game changer like Elly De La Cruz. Now, as for the starting pitching, they have had Hunter Green on the IL along with Nick Lodolo, but Andrew Abbott has really stepped up for them. Ben Lively's been pretty solid. You got Graham Ashcraft as well. I like those guys, but they definitely need someone like Hunter Green to come back. If we take a look at the leaderboards with the starting pitching, they are 22nd overall, ERA of a 5.69, a FIP of a 5.01. So they're definitely they have been better as of late. So they've moved up a little bit here, but they need to move up even more so to really put themselves into that serious contender category, for me at least. But the bullpen, you can count on this bullpen. It's been really good. 5th overall in Fangraph WAR. I mean, when you're looking at Alexis Diaz here, this guy's one of the best relievers in the game. Lucas Sims has been solid. I think they could use another guy here. Maybe they could trade for some starting pitching, some depth at the deadline. But for the Reds, I mean, they have just been very surprising. And I don't know if I consider them a World Series contender as of right now, but who knows? But for right now, I'm going to go playoff team. Let's talk the Cleveland Guardians. They are 45-45 and lead the AL Central. I can't believe how bad this division is, but the Cleveland Guardians, that was the popular pick coming into this year to win the division. but they really got off to a slow start this year. The offense has just been abysmal this year. However, lately, despite being pretty low in the rankings at 23rd overall when it comes to their offense, they have been better lately, 11th overall. So they're starting to wake up a little bit. The starting pitching for the most part has been pretty solid this year, 12th overall. Shane Bieber, people were wondering if he was going to be a trade candidate. I think he's going to end up staying now. They've had some other guys really step up for them too. Gavin Williams has come up from the minors. He's still a work in progress, but he has been giving them some decent innings. Tanner Bibby coming up as well has been doing really well. Savali has been pitching well lately. So starting pitching, I'm pretty good with. Remember the bullpen with the Cleveland Guardians last year? It was so good, but the Guardians bullpen this year, it's not really the same as what it was last year. 18th overall in Fangraph WAR, still putting up some decent numbers, a 3.09 ERA, FIP at an 8.93. I would like for them to get some more strikeouts there if they can, but for the Cleveland Guardians, I think obviously just being in the division that they're in, they're still going to be a playoff contender to me. If they were in any other division, it's pretty hopeless at this point, but hey, Cleveland Guardians, they have been waking up a little bit with the offense. Pitching has been solid for the most part. So let's see what they can do in the second half. On to the Colorado Rockies. I'll make this quick. Obviously, the Rockies are going to get ready for golf. They will be a team at the deadline to pay attention to. They got some expiring contracts like Charlie Blackmon. Grichuk could be there. Maybe Profar, CJ Crone, maybe Pierce Johnson. I don't know. You get a couple other guys. Maybe someone like a Brent Suter. So they're going to be, I would think, be looking to make some moves at the deadline. But not really much going on here. On to the Detroit Tigers, again with this bad division, and they're still only 5.5 out with a record of 39-50. That is just crazy to me. But when it comes to the Tigers, they're pretty bad statistically. They're 28th in offense. Spencer Torkelson has woken up this year. Riley Green, he's back from injury. So, maybe we could see some improvements there. I don't know, but the whole offense just kind of stinks. 21st overall in starting pitching. You got a couple of guys there, Eduardo Rodriguez, Lorenzen. Could they be trade pieces? I think Lorenzen definitely. I'm still not sure about Eduardo Rodriguez, maybe. And then as for the bullpen, 26 overall. I just don't think there's really much for this Tigers team. They got some good players that definitely could be traded, but for the team themselves, I just don't see them going anywhere. On to the defending champion Houston Astros. They've been playing pretty solid lately, and the Rangers have been scuffling a little bit, and the Astros now find themselves only 2 games behind the Rangers, so this is going to be a very interesting second half. But for the Astros, they've been a pretty interesting team this year. When it comes to the offense, that's actually been the part of the team that's been slumping. They got Jose Altuve, Yordan Alvarez out right now, so only 16th overall on the year. It's been a pretty mid offense for the most part, despite, a few guys having pretty good years. Bregman, Tucker, but Abreu has really just been a disaster of a signing. I mean, he's been, I guess, a little better lately, but I don't know, man. That's definitely not what they expected coming in. He's not having a great year. Corey Julks has been doing okay lately, but the offense definitely needs something, and they need Altuve and Alvarez to come back, obviously. But the starting pitching, you don't got to worry about the starting pitching. They're 7th overall on the year in Fangraph WAR, 3.74 ERA. The FIP a little bit higher at 4.18, but this rotation, very solid. You got Valdez, Javier Brown. I'd be okay with that. If you went into the playoffs with those 3, I think that'd be really solid. Bullpen, bullpen's been fine. 10th overall this year, a 3.56 ERA, 3.77 FIP. This bullpen, the back end of it, remember last year's bullpen at the back end? It was so good. Presley, Neris, and then Abreu. They've been very good. And this bullpen, 10th overall, despite Rafael Montero having a bad year. What the heck happened to Rafael Montero? My goodness. But for the Houston Astros, you have to consider them a World Series contender. They're just always that good. Yeah, maybe the numbers don't look as good as recent years, especially with the offense. But the Astros, they're going to be there in the end. They're going to be competing. I'm going to put them as World Series contenders. The Kansas City Royals are that bad when they are 19.5 games back in the AL Central. It's been a horrible year for the Kansas City Royals. There's just not really a whole lot going on here. You're looking at the deadline. Could Zach Greinke be a trade candidate? We'll have to wait and see. But could Salvador Perez be a trade candidate? Report out recently that Salvador Perez was willing to waive his no-trade clause. If I'm the Royals, I would see if I could make something happen. I think just to me, you need to look to the future. I don't know. That's just what I think personally. Obviously, for the Royals, they're getting ready for golf. Oh, yeah, let's talk the LA Angels. All the talk is on Shohei Ohtani right now because the Angels have been playing some bad baseball as of late. 1-9 in the last 10 games. They lost 5 straight going into the All-Star break. So all the talk right now is, will Shohei Ohtani be traded or will he end up staying? That's definitely going to be the buzz here for the next couple of weeks. But the Angels, they were looking really good there. Then Mike Trout got hurt, and they've just been struggling as of late. And now they see 4 teams in front of them for the third wild card spot. When you're looking at the numbers, they are 5th overall when it comes to the offense on the year. Remember, this was also with Trout, and he is now out for a little while. They've had other injuries as well. Remember, they had to make a trade for Eduardo Escobar, Mike Moustakas when Gio Urshela went down. So, those guys haven't really been doing too much. Renfroe's been pretty good this year. Moniak has been decent this year. But Rendon, once again, just having another pretty lame season overall. The on-base looks pretty good, but nothing else is really happening right now with Anthony Rendon. The starting pitching, obviously you got Ohtani there, but, starting pitching, it's middle of the pack overall, 16th overall. 9 strikeouts per 9, that's pretty solid, but I'm seeing the ERA of a 4.67, a 4.52 FIPS. So, I don't know. And the bullpen isn't any better at 23rd overall. I think personally, if right now, if you're talking Shohei Ohtani, I think you got to trade him. If you're the Angels, this happens to you every single year. Every year this just happens. And I just think you need to start looking to the future. You need to keep building up that farm. I think they should trade Ohtani. For me, I will go on the fence, because they still are right there in that wild card race, and they still have talent on this team. So, they could turn it around. But, I don't know. I'm really worried about this Angels team. I think personally, Ohtani should get traded. Earlier, we talked about how the Diamondbacks are only a couple of percentage points behind the Dodgers in the NL West, but the Dodgers are 51-38, and they were playing good baseball heading into the All-Star break. 7-3 in their last 10, won 4 straight heading into the break. The Dodgers, they're a good team. They have one of the best offenses in the game, 4th in offense on the year. For the starting pitching, that is a bit more murky. They're having a lot of injuries this year, 15th overall in Fangraph WAR, and the bullpen has been really solid, 7th overall. So just going through this team, like I said, very good offense. Mookie Betts and Freeman at the top, Smith, Muncy, Martinez in the middle, Peralta stepping up this year. Outman was hot in the beginning, got cold. He's heating up a little bit as of late, but a very good lineup for the Dodgers, one of the best in the game. The starting pitching, like I mentioned, they're having some difficulties this year staying healthy. They're having a lot of injuries. Dustin May was the big loss. Kershaw going into the All-Star break, having some shoulder issues. So they are running on fumes as of late. They did get Urias back from a hamstring issue. Gonsolin, I don't know. Gonsolin's one of those guys to me. He's always had trouble going deep into games. He hasn't been amazing this year, but they've had a couple of guys step up from the minors this year. Miller coming up, Sheehan coming up this year. You've got Grove in there, but they definitely need some help with the starting pitching. They need some guys to get healthy. Syndergaard, he's been out as well. Pepio had the oblique. They haven't even had Walker Buehler this year. So they definitely need to address this. Let's see if maybe they can add some depth at the deadline. They got some prospects to go out there and make some deals if they do end up needing to go that route. But for the bullpen, I think overall a very good bullpen. Evan Phillips at the back. You got Gratterall. You got Ferguson. You got Almonte. So, could they add maybe one more arm to this bullpen? Sure. For the Dodgers, to me, I feel like we've been hearing more, negative about the team overall. The starting pitching absolutely having injuries, but the offense is still really good. The bullpen is still really solid. I think they're right in between a playoff team and a World Series contender. For me, I just love that offense. It's just such a deep lineup. And if they can just address the starting pitching, I definitely think they're going to be right up there. For me, I'll go World Series contender as of right now. I think they're almost sort of under the radar. Obviously, the Braves have had a lot of attention here in the National League, but don't sleep on the Dodgers. Still a very good team. The Miami Marlins have been a fun team this year. They got a record of 53-39. They're 8.5 back in the division, but they are the number 1 wild card team as of right now. Man, where to start? It's just been a lot of fun watching the Marlins this year. With the offense, they are 19th overall in Fangraph WAR, but this offense has been having a lot of bats step up for them. Luis Arraez obviously chasing 400 this year. What an addition he has been. But Jorge Soler, really good after a down season last year. Brian De La Cruz stepping up this year. Jesus Sanchez hitting well lately. Garrett Cooper, hot lately. Even Segura is hitting a bit lately. So, like the production from the Marlins, I do think they need another bat in here to just add some more protection. But overall, these guys have been stepping up the best they can. Now, the starting pitching has been absolutely fantastic. With Uri Perez, he did get sent back down to the minor leagues. He will be back up eventually. He was sent down kind of more just to manage his innings. But love what this starting pitching has been doing for the Marlins this year. Jesus Luzardo has been absolutely fantastic. Alcantara, not as sharp as he was last year, but still really solid. The ERA is looking pretty high, but the FIP is still at a pretty solid number, so take that into account. Braxton Garrett's taking a step forward this year. Overall, starting pitching ranks 6th in the major leagues. And for the bullpen, pretty solid bullpen this year. 8th overall. If we take a look at the bullpen here, AJ Puck has been huge for the Marlins this year. It feels like they have a closer for the first time in forever. They got guys like Scott and Floro and Chagua producing for them this year. Brazaban is just tons of velocity from him. Love what he's doing. I just really like what this Marlins team is doing. I'm not quite ready to label them as a World Series contender, though. I will say, if this team makes the playoffs, they will be a sneaky one, because when you got starting pitching in the playoffs and you have a pesky lineup like they do, and if they can add another bat, that would be huge. The Marlins, I'm telling you, I think they could be a bit dangerous if they make the playoffs this year. But for now, I will label them as a playoff team. On to the Milwaukee Brewers. I haven't been a big fan of this team this year, but they have been playing well recently. Only a game back of the Reds in the NL Central with a record of 49-42. If we take a look at the numbers, though, they don't rank all that well. 26 in offense on the year, 23rd in starting pitching, and 25th in the bullpen. If we take a look at the offense over the last couple of weeks, though, they do rank well in WRC+, 8th overall in the last 2 weeks. So the offense is heating up a little bit, and one guy that's having himself a really solid season is Christian Yelich. Look at the slash line, hitting 284, a 378 on base, a 456 slugging, a 127 WRC+, 11 homers, 46 RBIs, and 21 stolen bases. A bit of the old Christian Yelich a little bit. They got a couple other guys performing well lately. Willie Adames lately, he's been hot. Contreras has been hitting pretty well, but they need these other guys to step up. When it comes to the starting pitching, Corbin Burnes, he's been solid for the most part this year. Not the old Corbin Burnes that we've seen, but for the most part, getting the job done. Peralta's been decent this year. Wade Miley's been okay, but they need something in this rotation. Brandon Woodruff should be back soon. Can they make a deal at the deadline? I think it's possible. And then when it comes to the bullpen, I like Williams and Payamps back there, but they need a little bit more in this bullpen. You got Milner that's doing well lately, but again, I think they need a little something extra. With the Milwaukee Brewers being in the division that they're in, they're right there. I think you have to consider them a playoff team. Do I consider them a World Series contender right now, to be honest with you? No, but I think they definitely could make the playoffs, so let's see what happens for them for the rest of the year. What in the world has happened with the New York Mets? I can't believe what is going on with the Mets this year. A record of 42-48. I had this team going to the World Series. What the heck is going on here? They're completely out of it in the division. In the wild card race, they're 7 back. It's not an impossible task to be able to climb back into this thing, but it's going to be pretty tough, and they're going to have to show something over the next couple of weeks unless they want to be sellers at the deadline, which is just crazy to me considering all these players that they signed. Let's take a look at the numbers. The offense is fine. 11th overall. Sure, could they use another bat there? Yeah, but they're doing okay for the most part. 11th in offense. If we take a look at the starting pitching, though, they have struggled this year, but lately they have been doing better. These guys are starting to turn it on now in the rotation. If we go take a look over the last 30 days, the Mets have been doing well. 12th overall in Fangraph WAR. So they're starting to step it up a little bit. A 3.46 ERA over the last 30 days. 4.26 FIP, a little higher, but overall, they are getting the job done lately. The bullpen, though, they need something for this bullpen. They're 29th overall. The ERA is still okay at a 4.12, but I don't like the FIP, a 4.68, the xFIP at a 4.60. They could definitely use a little something in this bullpen. Like I said, the offense, I think it's fine for the most part. You got Lindor, you got Nimmo, you got Alonso, you got McNeil. Marte, he has not been great this year. Let's see if he can get it going a little bit more. But Francisco Alvarez has been awesome for the Mets. This guy has really provided a lot of relief for this lineup. He's been huge for them. And like I said, starting pitching, they're starting to turn it around now. Verlander started late. Scherzer had the whole thing with the sticky stuff. But these guys are starting to turn it on now. Senga's been awesome for them. Carrasco's actually been okay. You got Peterson at the back end. I think the starting pitching is fine. I wouldn't worry about that. Like I said, they got to add something for this bullpen. You got Robertson here. You got Ottavino. You got Rayleigh. They got some arms here, but I think they need a little bit here. With the Mets, I think a lot of people, they're going, LOL Mets, this team's done. I'm not quite there yet. I'm going to give them a little bit more of a chance here over the next couple of weeks. I'm going to go on the fence for the Mets and see if they can turn this around. On to the Yankees, and ever since Aaron Judge went on the IL, this offense has been completely abysmal. They got the mayor, Sean Casey, in town now to try and help turn things around. Let's see. I like the move, honestly. I loved him as a hitter back in the day. I think he's a positive influence in the clubhouse. I think the players are really going to like him. Let's see if it works out. I do like the move, though. But overall, on the year, they're going to need some help there because the Yankees offense only ranks 21st on the year, and ever since Aaron Judge went on the IL, they only ranked 27th. So these guys are going to have to step up. Could they trade for Shohei Ohtani? Buster Olney reporting that maybe the Yankees could be the front runners for Ohtani for a trade. We'll have to see. But as for the pitching, it's a bit of a better situation. They rank 21st in Fangraph WAR. The ERA is okay at a 4.31, nothing amazing, but the bullpen has been performing well this year. 9th overall in Fangraph WAR, a 3.11 ERA, 3.79 FIP. I think the bullpen's solid. When you look at the Yankees lineup, again, they need some of these other guys to start hitting. Stanton really needs to get it going. Gleyber Torres has been fine this year. Rizzo needs to get it going. Bader's brought some energy. Josh Donaldson, don't even get me started, man. This guy's got to step it up. With Volpe, he's a rookie, man. I'm not going to, ask the world for this guy, but it would be nice if he could contribute a little bit more. DJ LeMahieu, this guy, remember he was a free agent a couple of years ago, highly sought after, and I don't know what he's even been doing this year. I don't know. This offense needs help. As for the starting pitching, Garrett Cole having a great year, started the All-Star game. You did just get Carlos Rodon back. That was good. He did pretty well against the Cubs there. I think he's going to be solid for them for the rest of the year if he stays healthy. Clark Schmidt, he's been fine for them. Herman, he's actually been pretty solid for them. I'm not worried about the starting pitching at all. And the bullpen has been solid. Holmes, King, Peralta, these guys are getting it done at the back end. I think the entire bullpen is solid for the most part. For the Yankees, though, the offense has just been so bad. I'm not sure what to think of this Yankees team. I like the pitching side of things. I like the rotation for the most part. I like the bullpen. But if this offense doesn't get it going, then I don't know what to think. I think Casey absolutely has the potential to help that lineup, but I need to see it. So for right now, with the Yankees, I'm on the fence. On to the Oakland A's. We all know the story with the A's. They're the worst team in baseball. They're getting ready for Vegas. Well, I don't know. Maybe they end up staying. The mayor of Oakland talking with Rob Manfred the other day, so maybe they could get something worked out, possibly. But with Oakland, they're just looking at the deadline. You got guys like Brent Rooker, Seth Brown, Tony Kemp, guys in the rotation, maybe Blackburn, Sears, possibly. Maybe some guys here in the bullpen could get traded. That's pretty much what they're doing here. I'm not going to waste a lot of time. They're getting ready for some golf. On to the Phillies. They were going through a bit of a World Series hangover, but they are playing better as of late. They're 48-41 on the year. They're 12 back in the division, but they're right there in the wild card race, only a half game behind the Giants for the third wild card spot. The Phillies in June were really good, 18-8 on the month after going 10-16 in May. So they have turned things around. If we take a look at the numbers, 17th overall on offense, but the offense has been doing better lately. They're starting to come around. Trey Turner is starting to slowly but surely be the Trey Turner that we know. One thing I did notice with the Phillies, though, they got to start making some more contact. Only 24th on the year in contact. If they can start putting the ball in play a little bit more, I think this Phillies offense could be pretty deadly. If we take a look at the pitching side of things, though, this is where I really like the Phillies. They got some good pitching, man. They're second overall in starting pitching, and they are number 3 when it comes to the bullpen. They do need to add some depth for this pitching, though. I love Wheeler and Nola. Walker has been a solid pickup for them. Suarez is good when he's healthy, but I think they need something for the back end of this rotation, some depth there. Dave Dombrowski, he's going to be going out there looking to make some moves. Kimbrel has been a really good pickup for the Phillies. Soto, he's been pretty solid for the most part, but I do think they need to add something for this bullpen. You got Alvarado and Dominguez on the IL, but I think some depth would help this Phillies team. But Dombrowski is going to go out there and he's going to go make some moves. I think this is a really good Phillies team, especially when you do look at this offense. yes, it's only 17th overall, but I just feel like these guys are going to start thumping at some point. Castellanos is having a good year. Schwarber's been solid. Again, Turner's starting to heat up. Harper's Harper, but this is a good offense. I really like this Phillies team. Got off to the slow start, so I feel like not a whole lot of people are talking about the Phillies, but I think for me, they're a World Series contender. When you got the pitching that they do and you got the lineup that they do, and then make some moves, which Dombrowski will, I think this Phillies team is going to be right there. If they get in the playoffs, you don't want to play this Phillies team in the playoffs. On to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They got off to a really fun start this year, but they have been fading lately. 41-49 as of right now, 8.5 back in the division. I just don't think they're quite there yet. They're really close, but they don't rank very well when it comes to the offense, the starting pitching, or the bullpen. So I just don't think they're really there. I think they're going to be paying attention to selling off a couple of pieces. Maybe Andrew McCutchen, who's on the IL right now, but he's having himself a really good year this year. And then someone like a Rich Hill, I think, could be a depth piece for another team. So let's see what ends up happening there. You got maybe a couple of pieces in this bullpen possibly, but I think the Pirates, they're going to look to sell off some pieces and bring in some more value. And then I think next year is really when you're going to see the Pirates take a step forward. But for me, I think slowly but surely, they're getting ready for golf. Earlier, we talked about the disappointing New York Mets, but how about the San Diego Padres? They got a lot of beef on that payroll too, and they only got a record of 43-47. They're 6 back from the third wild card spot, so they're not completely out of it, but man, they got to get this going. However, when you do look at some of the numbers, they do rank pretty well. They're 12th overall when it comes to the offense, and the starting pitching is some of the best in the game. 4th overall in Fangraph WAR. That rotation has been very good this year. The bullpen, though, they do need a little help. 20th overall. They do have a 3.82 ERA on the year, but the FIP is a 4.41, so I think they got to add something there. If we take a look at the lineup, obviously Juan Soto, he's fantastic. He got off to a bit of a slow start there, but he really has turned it on over the last couple of months. Juan Soto, love me some Juan Soto. Tatis Jr. has been really good this year for them. Machado's starting to turn it on. Bogarts got off to the really hot start, then he slowed down. He's starting to hit a little better lately. Cronenworth, they need a little bit more out of him too. So I don't think they necessarily need to go get a bat. If they can just get these guys going, I think that's going to be just fine. Sure, could they go get something else? Why not? Especially considering, Gary Sanchez and Carpenter here. So could you upgrade with these guys? Yeah, absolutely. The offense I'm not particularly worried about, and the pitching I'm not worried about either. Snell has been awesome. Musgrove, Darvish have been solid. Lugo, he's been decent for them this year. And then you got Michael Wacha, who was a great pickup for them as well. So this is a really good rotation. They could always add starting pitching if they really wanted to, but really good rotation. I do think they need to add something for this bullpen. Hader can't do it alone. The bullpen, they have been working pretty hard, but I think they need to add something here. You got Nick Martinez in here. You got a couple other names, but I think they need a little something. So when it comes to the Padres, with them, I want to put them as a play. I think they are a playoff team. I really do. But they're kind of like the Mets where they're just really underwhelming. So I'm going to be on the fence with them. Sometimes having, the best players, the most expensive players doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be going to the promised land. Maybe it's just not working this year for the Padres. I don't know. So I'm still in a wait and see mode. I do think they have the potential to climb back into this thing, as well as the Mets. They got too much talent to be just completely out of it. So it's going to be a really important couple of weeks here for both the Padres and the Mets. On to the Seattle Mariners. They just hosted the All-Star game, but they got to get it going here in the second half. 45-44, 6 out in the division, and in the wild card race, they're 4 out from the third wild card spot. So they're not completely out of it by any means. A good run in the second half, and they can turn this around. The offense, though, they got to get it going. It's been an up and down offense this year, 15th overall. Julio Rodriguez not having the same kind of year that he was having last year. He's starting to pick it up a little bit, though. Teoscar Hernandez, Eugenio Suarez, they're not really bringing that power like we thought they would. Ty France, Jared Kelenic, they've been a little cold lately. So they just got to get this going. Could they maybe, get an upgrade here for this lineup at the deadline? I could see something like that possibly. Overall, on the year, like I said, they're 15th in offense. But when it comes to the starting pitching, it has been really good. 3rd overall in starting pitching. And for the bullpen, they are 4th overall. I love this rotation. I love Luis Castillo. He's one of my favorite pitchers in the game. Kirby has been awesome. Gilbert's been awesome. Brian Wu has even been pretty solid for them. And they also had Bryce Miller. This guy was just off the charts coming up from the minor leagues this year. He's on the IL right now with a blister. Not worried at all about this starting pitching. Could maybe they use some starting pitching, maybe someone like a Brian Wu, or maybe even someone like Miller to maybe get some offense. I wouldn't completely count that out, but the bullpen, really good. You got Sewald, you got Munoz, you got Topa, you got Brash, who's nasty back here. I like the pitching with the Mariners, not worried at all. I do think they need to go get a bat. So I'm on the fence with the Mariners. I think with the Mariners, with the Padres, with the Mets, these are 3 teams I think really could heat up in the second half, and they can absolutely make a run for the playoffs. Coming into the year, I wasn't sure what to think of the Giants, but hey, they are right there for a playoff spot right now. 49-41 on the year, 2.5 back in the division. In the wild card, they have the 3rd wild card spot as of right now. So the playoffs started today. Your San Francisco Giants are in the playoffs. If we take a look at the numbers here, they're 13th overall when it comes to offense. On the starting pitching side of things, they're 19th overall. So not a great ranking, but the ERA looks pretty good at a 3.98, 4.01 on the FIP. Remember, they were having some health issues in that rotation. It was looking a little thin, so could they add some depth at some point? Maybe someone like a Marcus Stroman? Maybe. For the bullpen, very good bullpen this year. 6th overall in Fangraph WAR. Camilo Duvall has been absolutely solid for them at the back end. For the offense, could they maybe make an upgrade somewhere here? Yeah, absolutely. Lamont Wade Jr., J.D. Davis, they've been pretty solid this year. Patrick Bailey, he's come up and contributed offensively and defensively as well. Conforto, he's been decent for the most part, coming back after not playing last year. Sable, he's been hot lately. So, they got guys here. I wonder if they could maybe make an upgrade somewhere. As for the pitching, I think they could just add some depth. You just got Cobb back, but him and Webb have just been really good this year. Stripling to me is more of like a long reliever, 5th spot in the rotation kind of a guy. Alex Wood's more of a back end guy. So I think someone like Marcus Stroman would be really good for the Giants. And the back end, you got the Rogers here. You got Duvall. I like this bullpen a lot. For the Giants, I think you have to consider them just a really solid playoff contender right now. For them to be a World Series contender, to me, though, they need to add a little bit at the deadline. And I want to keep seeing this good play over the next month or so. So far, we've talked about the Mets and the Padres, even the Mariners a little bit being disappointing teams, but how about the St. Louis Cardinals? It absolutely blows my mind that I see a record of 38-52. They're completely out of it, 11 games out in the wild card race. I mean, we've seen them make magical runs before, but it's just not in the cards this year, no pun intended. Taking a look at the numbers, they are 8th overall in offense. It's a good offense, but the starting pitching, not effective this year. They are 14th overall in Fangraph WAR. I just don't think they get enough strikeouts. They're a ground ball heavy team, but they don't have a good defense this year. ERA is a 4.74. I don't know. This Cardinals team, they just haven't been pitching. And even in the bullpen, it's been up and down. 19th overall there, a 4.48 ERA. So they're focusing on the deadline now. And even John Mozeliak, president of baseball ops, has come out and said that the Cardinals are going to be focusing on next year's team at the deadline, which I think it just makes so much sense. And that's what they should do. They got some pieces here that you could get back some value for. Paul Goldschmidt, we talked about the Mariners maybe needing another bat. I mean, I think that could be a pretty decent fit. If the Cardinals need some young pitching, maybe someone like a Bryce Miller or Brian Wu could come back to the Cardinals in a possible deal. I could see something like that. So Paul Goldschmidt, I think, makes sense to at least explore some trades with him. Even Arenado has come out and said that he's preparing himself, to possibly get traded. I don't know about that. I think he's going to be staying there. Guys that I think Flaherty is a lock to get traded. I don't think the Cardinals want to bring him back. He's had injury problems, so I think he's good as gone. Maybe Jordan Montgomery. I think they would like to keep him, see if they can get him signed to an extension. I could see something like that. Jordan Hicks, possibly Tyler O'Neill, change the scenery kind of a guy. We'll have to see. He's, not too far removed from a pretty good season. But obviously for the Cardinals, he already said it himself. They're getting ready for golf. Man, oh man, remember that start the Rays got off to in the beginning of the year? Everyone was crowning them World Series champions, but they have come back down to earth recently. They got a really good record at 58-35, but lately not playing all that great. 1-7 in the month of July, so they're hitting a bit of a skid here lately. Let's see if they can turn this around, but this is a really good team. They are number one in offense on the year. They were so good offensively in the beginning of the year, but over the last month, they have come back down to earth. 16th overall on offense, so let's see if they can get it clicking again. As for the starting pitching, really like their starting pitching. McClanahan and Glasnow at the top there, along with Zach Eflin, who they brought in the offseason. It's been good starting pitching for them. 5th overall. Bullpen actually ranks only 26 overall, but the bullpen has been pretty good lately. 5th overall in the last 30 days. So this is a good Rays team. Sure, you could maybe make some upgrades in this lineup. I love me some Diaz and some Franco and some Arozarena. Paredes and Lowe have been really solid for them. So, could they add a bat? Yeah, sure. I think they maybe could make an upgrade there. Like I said, McClanahan is on the IL right now, but you got Glasnow in here. You got Bradley as well, and then Eflin was a great pickup for them. Could they maybe add another starting pitcher? Maybe. I could see that. And hear me out here. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent. I think Shohei Ohtani, call me crazy, could be a great fit for this team. If they really wanted another bat and another pitcher here for the playoffs, I think that would maybe make a lot of sense because they got a lot of prospects to get a deal done. And I could see the Rays being extremely motivated to try and win a World Series this year. Every team's motivated to win a World Series. But the Rays, trying to get a new stadium, trying to really get some fan interest there. I think Ohtani, man, if they could get Ohtani, leads them to a World Series championship, man, that would be huge for that organization, especially them trying to get to Tampa from St. Pete sometime down the road with a new stadium. I think that could go a really long way, getting a World Series championship there for the Rays. Anyway, back to the team. Bullpen has been pretty solid for the most part lately. Fairbanks, Adam, I like them at the back end. I do think they could add something here for this bullpen, so we got to wait and see. For the Rays, yeah, they are struggling in July, but to me, they are World Series contenders. This is a really good Rays team. Could they get Ohtani? Probably not, but that would be pretty fun. As a Red Sox fan, not really, though. On to the Texas Rangers, and this team absolutely mashes, but they have been scuffling a little bit lately. If we take a look here at the division, they do lead the division, 52-39, but they're only 3-7 in their last 10. The Astros only a couple of games behind now, so the Rangers, they got to get it going here. They were playing great the first couple of months, 16-11 in April, 18-9 in May, but only 14-13 in June, and 3-6 so far this month. So they got to get it going here out of the gates, but the offense ranks extremely well. 3rd overall in offense. When it comes to the starting pitching, actually pretty decent. 9th overall on the year. And then when it comes to the bullpen, they're actually 12th overall. The ERA is a 4.54, but I like the FIP at a 4.01. They did add Chapman, which I thought was a good move. Maybe they could make one more move. If we're taking a look at this team, I love the offense. Like I said, they match. You got Semien, Seager, Garcia, Young, Heim. They've been all great. Lowe has been he's always underrated, but love this offense overall. Leody Taveras even has been great. Not worried at all about the offense. With the starting pitching, Nathan Eovaldi has really stepped up for them this year. Man, oh man, I miss Nasty Nate. But losing Jacob deGrom was a blow, but him pitching the way he's been pitching, man, that's been huge. I do think they need someone to go alongside him at the top of that rotation. I think someone like Lucas Giolito could make a lot of sense. We'll have to wait and see what they do. But overall, the rotation, I think it's fine for the most part. And like I said, bullpen, I like the back end of it. Smith, Chapman now. You got a few other guys in here. I think one more piece could go a long way. I really like this Rangers team. I'll go ahead and say they're a World Series contender because that offense is just nasty. I think they need one more pitcher, though. If they can go out and get that done, one more starter to go with Eovaldi in the playoffs, and you got those other guys in there, getting some innings in the playoffs, I think there's a really good Rangers team. And, hey, a little cold lately, but let's see what they do after the All-Star break. On to the Minnesota Twins, and this team is just weird. I don't know what to think of this Twins team. They're 45-46, only a half game back the Guardians in this awful division. But this Twins team is just so weird to me. When you look at the offense, they got names in this lineup, but they're only 20th overall in offense. But the starting pitching is extremely good. The best starting pitching in the game, number 1 overall, 3.64 ERA, a 3.53 FIP, almost 10 strikeouts per 9, just over 2 walks per 9, a home run per 9. Really good starting pitching for the Minnesota Twins. But then the bullpen is only 17th. I mean, they're not bad, though. 3.76 ERA, a 3.99 FIP. It's just a very odd team. You know, Correa, remember the big story was he went to the Mets and he went to the Giants and then ended up back with the Twins. And, you know, he got off to a really slow start this year, but he has been hitting pretty well lately. So far in the month of July through 8 games, hitting 300. So I think Correa is slowly but surely getting himself going here. But, you know, they need these other guys to start stepping up here. Like this offense, like I don't know what to think of this offense. Like I don't know, Buxton, he's always dealing with health issues, but you know, when he's on the field, he's usually just like amazing, but he hasn't really been doing all that much, man. I don't know. This offense is just very, very lackluster. Like I said, though, the pitching has been great. I love this pitching. I mean, look at Pablo Lopez this year. Look at Joe Ryan. Look at Sonny Gray. Look at Ober. Awesome starting pitching. I am not worried about the starting pitching. I do like the back end of the bullpen. I like Duran. I like Jax. But I think they need a little bit more here in middle relief. You know, for the Twins, because of the division they're in, you know, if they're in any other division, they're not doing anything. But, you know, they're right there, so they are a playoff team, so I don't know how far they make it, but they could definitely win that Central. The Toronto Blue Jays, an up-and-down team this year, but they're right there for a wild card spot. They got a record of 50-41, and they have the third wild card spot as of right now, actually tied with Houston for the second and the third wild card spot. But I do like this Blue Jays team. It just feels like, I don't know, am I the only one that feels like the Blue Jays, they look great every year, but there's just something missing with the Blue Jays every year. And when we look at the numbers, they do look pretty good. They're 7th in offense on the year. Starting pitching has been really solid. You know, just got Manoah back too, and he's looking better, so let's see if he can keep it going. But they're 10th overall on the year in starting pitching. And as for the bullpen, they are 11th overall, but lately this bullpen has been lights out, 2nd overall over the last couple of weeks. You know, when we're looking at the team, the one thing I noticed is that their lefties aren't really producing all that much. You know, Brandon Belt, Varsho, Biggio, Kiermaier, not getting a whole lot of production. That's been a bit of a thing with the Blue Jays over the last couple of years. Like they had like no lefties last year, and then they got some lefties, and they're not performing all that well. So maybe they could make a bit of an upgrade there. I don't know. Maybe someone like Shohei Ohtani, possibly. But I don't think they have enough to get it done. But how fun would that be, huh? But as for the starting pitching, I love Gausman. You know, Bassett's been solid. Barrios has had a very good bounce back year this year. Kikuchi, solid for the most part. But like I said, Manoah, I think he's the big key. If this guy is good to go, then I think this rotation is completely set. The bullpen, very hot lately. I love what this bullpen is doing lately. These guys are really settling in. I think the big thing is just more consistency with the offense. I think this is a good Blue Jays team. I'm just not ready to call them a World Series contender. I need to see more consistency from the Blue Jays. And last but not least, we got the Washington Nationals. Just drafted their superstar of the future in Dylan Cruz. This team is looking great for the future, but as of right now, we already know what's going on with the Nationals. They're getting ready for some golf, but they do have some pieces up for trade. Jeimer Candelario is having himself a really solid season. I definitely could see him getting traded. Got a couple of relievers here like Carl Edwards Jr., Kyle Finnegan, maybe even someone like Lane Thomas. He's having a pretty good year as well. Could they maybe see if they can get something back for him? Have to wait and see. But those are my rankings. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Do you think any of these teams should be up higher, lower? Tell me what you think. But that's all I have for right now. If you can, on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. But I'll talk to you next time.